Back on HQ Post Round with a look at your odds to win next week's Open Championship. History oozing out of every corner of this major, and who might claim it? Well, Scotty Scheffler, as is customary, your favorite at plus 450. Rory McIlroy following his runner-up here at the Scottish, 7-1. They usually line up 1 and 2 there, both in the world golf rankings and in the odds. Next closest, Jon Rahm, headed in the right direction after a couple positive major starts. Back in the mix with Rick Gehman and Patrick McDonald. Rick, I don't want to keep us here at the Scottish, but I do want to find a bridge from one to the other. What are the through lines in terms of the test they'll be faced with from the Scottish Open at Renaissance to what we're going to get at Portrush? What can those who performed carry from one to the other?
Yeah, definitely a lot of confidence and definitely experience on a link-style golf course, right? The Renaissance Club is a newer, very, very modern in terms of golf courses in the UK, but it is links-ish. Now, we are going to get a proper link-style golf course and a proper Open Championship test looking at the forecast at Royal Portrush. And the way that you do not have control over so many factors is foreign to a lot of guys who play in America on a week-in and week-out basis. But there are going to be shots that you think you have hit perfectly and you are going to be punished for them. And there is just a patience that is required around these types of golf courses. And it's just going to ask you to be in control of your game, Joe. I mean, these aerial footage it's unbelievable the way this golf course is setting up. The routing is perfect. I'm excited to get the guys over there and see what happens.
I think there's a couple things. One, the time zone. Time zone's still the same, so that's going to be good for these guys. No need to adjust. And then, two, I think the shot-making ability. It's going to be a different type of shot-making at Royal Portrush, like Rick mentioned. Today, this week, at the Renaissance Club, a lot of on-the-ground Iowa football, run-the-football type of deal at the Scottish Open. But with the rain, with how this golf course kind of contours, the topography at Royal Portrush is something that normal links golf courses aren't really used to, right? You think about big greens, playing within the dunes, those being the barriers for the fairways. Royal Portrush almost goes through the dunes. They have big or smaller greens with some of the runoff surfaces that players aren't really used to. So with the rain in the forecast, I think there's going to be a different level of shot making required. So if you're hitting the ball great this week, I don't think that's obviously going to go anywhere, but another level is going to be required this week.
Patrick, you know, Kirk Ferentz, sometimes you got to punt on third down to get to the finish line the way you want to. Maybe let's call it a 13-play drive, all the confidence that comes with it here from the Scottish to the British. When you look at who is best buoyed by their performance here at the Renaissance Club, who comes to mind for you, Patrick? Who do you think maybe turned their arrow upwards most off of these 4 days?
I kind of like Xander Schauffele and the way he's trending upwards, right? A guy who has not really hit one consequential shot over the weekend in a golf tournament in 2025. And going into his defense, he is at risk of a lost season, coming off an all-time season in 2024 with 2 top 10s to go along with those 2 wins in the major championship. So the iron play was great. He mentioned afterwards how he's excited to go to Royal Portrush because he believes the greens will be a bit smoother, a bit more pure compared to kind of how crusty and how fast they were at the Renaissance Club. So Xander Schauffele is the guy who really stuck out this week with his performance, just slowly but surely trending. It feels like we've been saying this every single week, but a guy we know come major championship time is going to be ready.
That's a very good one there. I think that Viktor Hovland is the guy that I circle here. A pair of 67s on the weekend. He picked up another 7 strokes on approach, which is an insane number, and it's something that he's been doing relatively frequently here in 2025. The game has been trending for the last 4 or 5 months. We still have some concerns around the putting surfaces, but link-style golf is going to give you more opportunities. There's going to be some situations where he'll be able to putt it. You'll get a lot more bunker shots because of the way the pot bunkers are magnetic, so to speak, and there will be a big reward for hitting fairways and hitting greens, which is what Viktor does best and better than many of his peers. So I think we've got a lot of really good suitors trying to chase down the bigger names like Scotty Scheffler, like Rory McIlroy, and of course the boys from Live Golf like Jon Rahm and Bryson DeChambeau.
Yeah, 1 week further removed also for Viktor Hovland from that neck issue that caused a WD not long ago at the Travelers. And seems to be back on form, looking for his first. Everybody is running from something or looking from time from something. I don't know that Rory McIlroy needs to run from anything, history included here, but maybe we're beating around the bush in our conversation here at Portrush. A home game for Roars. He collects the career Grand Slam at the Masters just months ago. All the oddity that has happened between then and now, but seems to be back in a good place. How do you think he processes the pressure, Rick, in this week to come with so much in it and the spotlight so bright?
I think that there are very few things that are going to be able to move the Rory McIlroy internal needle like winning the career Grand Slam. That's going to be almost impossible to top. Ryder Cups will do it. However, potentially winning the Open at home is next level stuff. And I think that when you talk about motivation and how engaged he is, Rory McIlroy is going to be completely engaged in this championship, which is very difficult, or excuse me, it should be very troublesome for the rest of the field. I also think he's been thinking about that opening tee shot that he hit on Thursday OB in 2019 for the last 6 years. And I think that he has got a little of unfinished business around Royal Portrush, and he's coming in as a better golfer, a more accomplished golfer, a more free-flowing golfer. I cannot wait to see the way that this crowd carries Rory McIlroy around Royal Portrush, and if he's able to respond to that. I'm just so excited for whatever his tee time is going to end up being on Thursday. I'll be watching, I'll be tuned in, I'll be locked in.
I am definitely curious how much he builds it up in his own head, because we've seen throughout his career, sometimes it does work for Rory McIlroy when he does that. Sometimes it doesn't, like the 2019 Open when he hit his first tee shot out of bounds. But I do like that, one, he's getting his pre-tournament press conference out of the way this time tomorrow. He's going to have that all finished, and then he could just focus on the golf, because like Rick mentioned, this is probably the best version of Rory McIlroy skill set-wise. And mentally, I know he went through that lull coming out of the Masters, but mentally going into the Masters, he was just so sharp. And if he can kind of recreate that sharpness going into the Open Championship, who says he can't win this one and raise the claret jug too?
The prodigal son returns home. The Northern Irish-born Rory McIlroy looking for a win right around where he was born, where he found it all, where he collected that course record 61 as a 16-year-old, and where he blew at OB and couldn't find it in 2016, excuse me. 2019. It was Shane Lowry in 2019, and Rory exited after 2 days. You want them to get it right? Join them on the Early Wedge. They got it all covered. All the news and notes, winning wagers, they take you under the ropes and into the action each and every week on tour. Scan the QR code and get involved with the Early Wedge.